Hello everyone, my name is Emily and today we're going to be talking about area. You might have heard area before in your math class, or you might have heard people throwing that word around and you're not exactly sure what it means. So today we're going to be talking about area, and I'm also going to be answering some questions about it, so hopefully I can make it easier for you to understand. Area is something that will come into play in your life many times. It's something that people use all the time, and you're going to use it a lot more than you may think. A good example of when you may need to use area is when you're installing new flooring or carpet in a room and you need to know how big the floor is. You need to know the entire size of the floor of that room so you know how much carpet or flooring to get. Or you may need to know the area of the back of your car to know how much luggage you can fit when you're going on vacation. Area is really not that hard, and I hope today I can make it more simple for you. You might have heard about perimeter. Perimeter is simply when you're looking at a shape, you're looking at how much each side of that rectangle is, the length or the distance of each side. Perimeter only accounts for the sides of a shape, so it's very limited. Finding perimeter won't always help you in real life, where area becomes much more helpful. Area is different than perimeter because area accounts for all of the units inside that shape. You're not just looking at the outside. So area gives you a good picture of the entire shape. So I'm going to start answering some questions now. The first question I want to answer is, what does it mean to say a shape has an area of 15 square centimeters? So a shape has an area of 15 square centimeters, as we've read. This means that we're measuring the shape in square units. So we're literally looking at the unit that is inside this particular shape. And in this case, it is a square. A little square, like if you're looking at graph paper, and each side of that square is 1 centimeter. So that is where we get square centimeters. So we are essentially counting how many squares at a centimeter length each are inside of this shape. So this shape has 15 square centimeters, meaning there are 15 squares inside that shape, measuring at a centimeter on each side. The next question I'm going to answer is, why does the formula L times W work for all rectangles? Now, L times W means length times width. And the reason why this works for all rectangles is because a rectangle is made up of 4 right angles, meaning that there are 2 sets of parallel sides inside that rectangle. Because the sides are parallel and because they all have right angles, each parallel set of lines is the same length or distance. So because of this, it makes it really simple to find the area. Instead of going in and counting all of the units inside this particular rectangle, we can just account for the length times the width. And because, like I said, this length is the same as this length and this width is the same as this width, we can ignore that other set of length and width, and we can just multiply this length times this width, and it gives us the entire space of this rectangle. The next question that I'm going to answer, and it is our last question today, is, why does the formula 1/2 b times h work for all triangles? So that's another way of saying 1/2 base times height. So I drew a little visual for us to make this easier to understand. Basically, I want us to understand that a triangle is half of a rectangle, and this is what this visual helps us see. You can see that we have a rectangle, and inside our rectangle we have 2 triangles. So these triangles make up half. Each of these is half of our rectangle. So you can think about base times height as another way of saying length times width when you're looking at a rectangle. So if you're looking at it as base times height of the rectangle, this is essentially the base, and this is essentially the height, which is the same thing as the length and the width. Now, if you're looking at your triangle, then you can just do half base times height because the triangle is half of a rectangle. If it's also helpful to think about it as base times height divided by 2, that also works and can be easier to think about it if your brain works better that way. So I hope that by seeing that the triangle is half of a rectangle, you're literally taking half of the area of the rectangle. And in this case, base times height can also be looked at similarly as length times width. I hope that answering these questions made area a little less intimidating for you, and I hope you really enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.